All right, so I did some homework yesterday, got some numbers going. All right, how does this, there we go. So what we're talking about today is how to accelerate real-world success. So numbers, so through my Southwestern career, as Danny said, I sold for 11 summers, and I found out, just doing some homework, that I had 15,143 no's in my career. I actually apparently had 59 first years go cold before the summer, which if anyone's had that happen, that's not fun. And then I've actually had 26 first years that went home after going to sales school. I've encountered a lot of failure. I've had a lot of mistakes. Definitely had a lot of doubts and a lot of fears, right? But isn't that the good stuff? You learn from that, right? So now I'm a career counselor with Southwestern, and I've had the opportunity to talk to tens of thousands, probably not 10,000 yet, but thousands of alumni of all different situations. Literally, I talked to alumni that were homeless for a time. I've talked to alumni that are currently managing tens of billions of dollars and everything in between, you know? And it's really interesting to hear their stories, hear their opinions, hear things that they regretted, and to hear things that they're grateful for. And so just from my own personal experiences, and the experiences from others that I've heard about, I've gained a pretty unique perspective, I think. And so what I've learned, it's not going to surprise you, but everyone wants the same thing, which is just to be successful in life, personally and professionally. You know, just to be happy and healthy. Do we agree with that? Is that what you want? Yeah. So nothing crazy. And so in my mind, though, it's like, because it's not a simple, it probably is a simple thing, but it's also kind of hard to figure that out. Like, how do you gain success? How do you become happy? And so I thought to myself, all right, what are, like, if I could distill, because talking to alumni, there's a million things I've heard of, like, why they became successful, like what they did, but I really wanted to distill things down to like 5 or 10 ideas of how to be successful personally and professionally. So then I thought, okay, who do I know that can truly and accurately share what it means to be successful in life? Yeah, some of you guys aren't laughing. You're like, that's exactly what you should do. And so, but this is the list I came up with. Purpose and vision, lifelong learning, resilience, adaptability, so on and so forth. So if you look at that list, it's like, oh, that's pretty Southwestern-y, isn't it? But here's the deal, is that this isn't like a list of things that you could just like know. Like, wouldn't it be cool if I just like gave you this list and I'm like, that's my part, and everyone here becomes successful because of that list, right? It doesn't work like that, right? It's not like a checklist of things that you could have. So these are things that you have to do daily, right? These are things you have to learn, understand, internalize, and things that you have to practice. You actually have to have situations. You have to have circumstances that lets you practice and apply these things. Does that make sense? So this made me think of a quote. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times again. Anyone heard that quote before? Yeah, good half. If you haven't, that's from a book called Those Who Remain. The author is G. Michael Hopf. And just to further explain that idea, the idea is that when times are tough, people have to be strong. They have to become smarter. They have to adapt, right? And so these strong people then influence their community, influence the culture, and things become better, right? They make decisions that better the community, right? So then things are better, you're in good times. All of a sudden, people don't have to be as strong or as smart or as adaptable in order to thrive or survive. Does that make sense? So because of that, people kind of like, they kind of like atrophy in a way. Or at least that's the theory. And then that's how you get weak people. And then weak people kind of come in control of the community and the culture. And then times become hard again, right? And then the cycle repeats, okay? So I don't think that's like a quote you have to like live or die by. I just think it's interesting. And I think thinking about that, it gives you a chance to, it helps you understand that you have an opportunity. So I have a question for you guys. Do you guys think we're in good times right now, or are we in hard times right now? I didn't hear any of that. Yeah, we're in the best of times. Like, we are in the absolute, dude, this is the best of times in human history, probably. It's awesome. And if you're not sure if you believe in that, like, think about this. Like, a couple hundred years ago, if you were thirsty, you had to walk half a mile to the river with a bucket. And by the way, make sure to boil the water first. I don't want you getting dysentery, right? Now, whereas today, it's awesome. Like, you could literally sit in your apartment for 2 weeks straight on your couch and watch Netflix nonstop and have food delivered to you. And you have modern plumbing. We're literally kings and queens, aren't we? Isn't that awesome? Now, I'm not saying you should live like that, but it's awesome that we could do that. But then some people might think, well, I mean, how do you explain all of the bad things happen in the world? It's like, don't you watch the news? Well, I don't. That's why I look so happy. But there's a lot of challenging things that do happen. And so my response to that is like, yeah, a lot of things happen that shouldn't happen, that are definitely solvable or avoidable. But the reason why those things are happening, I think, is because, not because we're in bad times, but because it's because of the decisions of weak men. And so, again, I think that gives us like an opportunity to work hard at this time, because the opportunity is that you could be strong men and women in a whole sea of weak ones, if that makes sense. We're in the best of times. A lot of weak people are going to come out of this. All right, so how does Southwestern fit in? So I want to define Southwestern really quick. So to be clear, Southwestern is not a job. I mean, I guess it is a job or whatever people call it, but it's not a job. So Southwestern is a character development program. And so you guys know the mission of the company? So to be the best company in the world to help young people to develop the character and skills it takes to achieve their goals in life. So that's their mission. And so how Southwestern did that is they created this program. And so this program, it's kind of cool. What Southwestern did, whether they realized it or not, they actually created a simulation of hard times during a period of good times. In fact, it's not just a simulation of hard times, it's a voluntary simulation of hard times. And there's a difference, because in real hard times, like legit hard times, like you have to adapt and become stronger in order to survive. You have to adapt or die, literally, right? But in voluntary hard times, it's almost like more challenging. Actually, it is more challenging, because you have a choice to adapt or choose comfort. Because if the option is death, it's like adapt or die. It's like, I don't want to die. Like, I guess I have to do this. But when you can choose comfort, it's like it's a carrot instead of a stick. It's like, it's a lot harder. So an example of this, does anyone know what this is? What this is a picture of? Yeah, so this is a snapshot of Bud Navy SEAL training. And so, I don't know what they're doing actually. They're crawling or something. But Navy SEAL training, I'm sure you've heard, is really, really hard. Like calisthenics, cold, like they're doing all this stuff that's just so hard to go through physically, mentally, emotionally. But at all periods of times, throughout the entire training, they have this bell in front of them. And so at any point, while someone's going through this weeks and weeks long program, if they want to give up, if they want to stop, if they want to quit, all they have to do is get up, go to that bell, and ring it 3 times. And you know what happens when that happens? Like, they don't like make fun of them. They just like, bring it in, man, good, like, nice try, like, here's a warm blanket, here's some warm food. It's like, ooh, dude, that's hard. If you're like 4 hours in to 60-degree water, like calisthenics nonstop, like, that bell looks pretty good to ring, doesn't it? That's hard. Now, I'm not saying that Southwestern is like Navy SEALs training, but do you have to sell books? No. In fact, it's kind of a weird thing, but do you know what it feels like when you actually quit? Do you know what the first feeling is when you quit? Relief. Oh, comfort, you know? And that could be addicting. So it's a tough thing. So something else that's really challenging about Southwestern too, I think it's really valuable about Southwestern, is that you're doing 20 different jobs here. If you're a student leader, you're doing 20 different jobs. Okay? Like literally a major corporation would pay 20 different people to do 20 different jobs, and you're doing all of them. Where are they? Oh, they are. You're doing a ton of different things, right? And so because of that, naturally, some of these things you're good at. Like some parts of Southwestern you're really, really good at. Other parts of Southwestern are not natural to you. And it's frustrating. And that's okay. In fact, actually it's kind of a positive thing, because what happens is throughout that process you become extremely well-rounded as a person. You're learning all aspects of a business, right? But when you're going through it, it's like, hey, do you guys know those moments over the summer or during full timing or recruiting, whatever, when you're like, you feel like you're doing everything right, you're doing the very best you can, but for whatever reason something's not clicking, it's not working out? Isn't that the most frustrating thing? It's so frustrating. And so what those things are, there's something called blind spots. It's like when you're doing everything you think you can and something's not working out, and it's such a frustrating experience. Those are blind spots. So what happens in Southwestern, it allows you over time to uncover those blind spots. So what is a blind spot? You see this pie chart? This is not exactly accurate in terms of percentages. It's just this picture. But so you see that small. So this pie chart is it's a chart of all knowledge in the universe. That's how I want you to view it. It's all knowledge, right? And so that small sliver, that blue one, that sliver is everything, all the knowledge that you have. So everything that you know, that you know. So what are some examples of things that you know that you know? You know that you know how to speak English. You know that you know how to ride a bike, drive a car, send an email, whatever, right? Those are things that you know how to do. You with me? A bigger category is things that you don't know. Isn't there a ton of things that you don't know how to do? It's like there's like so many languages I have no idea how to speak. I do not know how to fly a plane, that's for sure. There's a big list of things you don't know how to do. But the majority of knowledge in the universe, what is it? It's things that you don't know that you don't know. So what are some examples of that? Yeah, you don't know, exactly. It's like, so that giant piece of the pie, those are the blind spots. Those are the reasons why something isn't working out and you don't know why. You're doing your very, very best, all your effort, emotional energy, attitude, and just like something's not working. There's a blind spot. That's what that is. So a couple examples. First one is it's gonna make perfect sense. Like attitude, like you guys remember before your first summer? Like I have a pretty decent attitude, I think. And then you sell books and you're like, oh, I had a crap attitude, right? So now you understand what it means to have a good attitude. Like legit, you go back to campus and it's like, oh, my friends have a terrible attitude. I didn't even realize it, right? Blind spot. Another example is like patience. Like, I'm not gonna get too deep in the weeds on this, but it's like some people think that patience is waiting while they're frustratingly keeping quiet. for something. That's not patience, that's high blood pressure. And so, how do you get from high blood pressure to like actually peacefully waiting because you know things will work out in God's timing? Like, how do you get to that point? It's uncovering a blind spot. And we can go on and on this list forever. But that's what's valuable about Southwestern. It gives you the tools, gives you the opportunity, the situations to be able to face those blind spots, which are frustrating, but eventually, so when you discover a good way to know that you discovered a blind spot, that you uncovered it, you know that feeling you have when you're just like, oh, that there's epiphany moments, you discovered a blind spot, and things open up a little bit more. Your vision becomes a little clearer, right? So, that's a big value of working through challenging things and being in these tough circumstances, is you get to learn more about yourself, more about others, more about the world, okay? And when you're in good times, you don't have to do that, but you're undeniably just going to be stunted in your growth. So, good. Now let's bring us back to reality a little bit, though. So some people think that because I sold 3 summers, 6 summers, 11 summers, that means when I move on from Southwestern, I'm going to have, like, jobs. I'm going to have the perfect career in that very specific industry just sitting there waiting for me because of my resume, because of my Southwestern experience. Or some people here might think, because I sold books, I'm automatically going to be a better dad, mom, husband, wife, automatically, because I sold books. That's actually not true. It's not automatic. This is a big thing. So to be very clear, it's not what you do in Southwestern, it's what you do with what you did in Southwestern. It's how you apply it afterwards. It's how you apply it to your relationships, to your life. And so you guys remember that list on ChatGPT, that list of things? Remember, it's not a checklist. It's like, yeah, those are things you have to understand, internalize, learn, practice. So, and this isn't bad news, by the way. This is good news. Like, success is not an achievement. It's not a point you get to. Success is an activity you do every single day. Like, again, I don't know if that clarifies why it's not bad news. Like, if you know everything and you did everything, you have all this money, you do all this, you have this relationship, if you don't apply these things, it will go to crap. You're not going to be happy. Happiness literally comes from the actions every day that you do. That's working on these things. That's what makes you happy. It's not stagnation. It's being dynamic with it. So, right on time. In summary, take advantage of your time here. However long you're here, stay here as long as you can. Challenge yourself as much as possible. Learn as much as you can. Soak up as much as you can out of this, because this is a simulation of hard times that it's hard to find. It's hard to find things like this. Like, use this. Get excited about that. Get excited about the suck. And it's fun to uncover blind spots. Like, your vision becomes clear. It's cool. It's like, uncover as many as you can, and obviously apply what you learned in every area of life. And the last thing I'll leave you with, no matter how long you stay in Southwestern, just remember, no matter how long you're here for, whether it's 10 summers or 1 or whatever, either way, you're never actually going to leave the book field. You really just change turf, in a way. You're still using this stuff, all right? Thank you.
Let's go, Mr. Danny Johnston! Gosh, he looks good, too.